Live streaming is on.
Okay, Bob,
Emery?
we are online. So when you want,
Emery.
we can start.
Okay, we're just on time.
I'm here. Emre was the first author.
The first author. Okay, you're going to be the fourth presenter, right, Emery? You're going to be the first presenter. So first we're going to have Sinait, and then Sintaro Ide, and then we have this is Alana, and then the fourth one is Emery. Okay. Okay, so shall we start with the first presenter, please? Kindly prepare your slides.
Yeah, you can see my slides, right?
Okay. So what about the rest? Can you see the slides and can you hear the sound?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay.
Thank you for confirming.
Okay. So, Sinait, once you're ready, please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm here to present our paper, the Deepfake Recognition in Tweets Using Text Argumentation, Word Embeddings, and Deep Learnings. We are from the Kaunas University of Technology and Vytautas Magnus University from Lithuania. The main objective of this research or the paper is the generated clickbaits, fake news and reviews undermines the veracity of internet as a credible source. So in this paper, we were investigating the problem of recognizing automatically generated short text by experimenting different deep learning models. And we improved the classification result using the text argumentation technique and classifier hyperparameters optimization. So as I said, the goal is to detect the automatically generated short texts by using the different deep learning models. And for achieving this goal, we were performing the following task: text preprocessing, such as filtering, spelling correction, tokenization, and others. And for improving the amount of data sets, we used the dataset argumentation, vector representation, and experimenting different deep learning models, and making the tuning hyperparameter optimization. And the novelty and the contribution of this paper is it presents the comparison of the classical machine learning and deep learning techniques, performance, as well as the development of deep learning models for detecting the fake tweets, combining the advantage of the CNN and HAN architectures. So the datasets used for this experiment is the TweetFake that's available from Kaggle. It consists of the balanced class around 25,000 tweets, maps into two classes, that is the human-generated tweets and bot-generated tweets. And we split the datasets into 90% for training and 10% for testing. Exactly in the numbers is listed in the slide. Both the human and generated tweets has the similar numbers of words. And in this picture, it is an example of a tweet that's generated by bot. And the next step is the dataset argumentation. That's dataset argumentation. Argumentation is advantageous for low resource and epic task, as it adds more data for the datasets. And we used the following techniques for the data argumentation. That's the random replacement of words in tweets with their synonyms, and random insertion of synonym of the word in the tweets, random swap of the word, random deletion for each word in the tweets. And after that, there's a vector representation. Feature selection is the very important for document classification problems. And in order to represent the words into the vector real value vectors, we use the word embeddings glove and Robert's A approach. And the next part is the experiment and the results of this experiment. The evaluation metrics we used on this paper is the precision, recall, accuracy, and the F1 score. And for the tools and settings, Python programming language and Google Colab environments. And for text argumentation, we use the ET data argumentation, EDA, and embeddings Glover and Robert's A, also the Flare. For tuning the hyperparameters, we use the HyperOpt package. And for mitigating the overfitting effects, we use the early stopping approach. As For our baselines, we tested some simple classical machine learning models, that is the IDF count vectorization with logistic regressions, bag of words with logistic regression, GLOVE with a dense neural network that's only just 2 layers. And the deep learning neural networks that is tested in this experiment, the first one is the dense neural network that has 3 layers and 768 neurons in the input layers. In the intermediary layer that has 10 neurons, that's corresponding for the number of the Robert A vectorization features. The network is trained by applying the gradient descent algorithms. And the second architecture is the convolutional network that has 1 embedding layer, and 1 dimension is only possible when we were working with text data. 1 convolutional layer and global maximum pooling and dropout layers. And as you can see in this picture, that's the architecture of the convolutional network. And the third one is the RNN and gated recurrent units. The LSTM long short-term memory and gated recurrent neural unit are the extension of recurrent neural network. They have gates. While the GRU has 2 gates, the LSTM got 3 gates. That's the input, output, and forget. As GRU has only 2 gates, it is faster than LSTM. And we tested this architecture for the classification problem as well. And the first one is the hierarchical attention network. And this Han aims to capture 2 basic insights of the hierarchical structure of a text on different levels. That is the word form sentences and sentence form a message. So the bidirectional GRU use it for the word encoder, along with the word attention mechanism to encode each sentence into vector representation. And the sentence representation passed into a sentence encoder, and with the sentence attention mechanism results into the document vectorization vector representation. And finally, this representation is passed into fully connected layers for classification or prediction. So as I listed on the baselines and all the architectures, deep learning architectures, this is the result we have. So as you can see, the last one, the Robert A vectorization and the hierarchical attention network has the highest accuracy. That's 89.7%. And this is the convolution matrix for that architecture, the Robert A vectorization and the Han architecture. So in the conclusion and in the future work, the best achieved accuracy is 89.7% using the Robert A vectorization and the hierarchical attention network architecture. The previous work on this uses the burst type transformers. However, they didn't use the text argumentation. So in this experiment, we present the importance of text argumentation for the classification using the short texts and small data sets. In our future work, we will aim on the improvement of discussed architecture, specifically focusing on the problem of smaller data sets. Thank you for listening. If you have any question, you can.
Okay. Do we have any question from the floor? From the audience, online audience? Do we have any? Okay, let me have a question. You mentioned something like small data.
Yes.
So how small is the data?
I described the data sets is here around 25. So the
Tweets.
data set we use it is
25,000 tweets.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you consider small data.
Yes.
So, but what about your current data? How big is your current data then?
So the amount when we are use it for the text argumentation when added I don't have the exact numbers, but it becomes like double, around double.
So you mean to say something like 50,000, around 50,000,
Around
double this amount?
Double this amount, yeah, around that.
Okay. So what do you think will be the implication if you're going to use this small data?
So when we are using smaller data, it's like more, it doesn't give more insights like how the data sets looks like. So the application is not trained like properly, or so when we are adding more data sets, the application can be trained like more accurately. So when we have the smaller data sets, instead of like neglecting just using the small data sets, we can have some options that like the text argumentation, and we can still yield like a good results. So that was the aim of it.
Okay. Any other question from the audience, please? From the online and in presence audience. Anybody? Okay, so not unless you have questions, then thank you very much, and then we proceed to the next paper.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Mr. Shintaro Ide.
Okay.
Can you share your slides? Your screen.
Is the mic sound and screen sharing okay?
Okay. Good.
Okay, ready.
If you're ready, then you may proceed.
Hello everyone. My name is Shintaro Ide, and I'm a second-year master course student at the Graduate School of Information Science in Kyushu Sangyo University, Japan. The theme of the paper that I will be presenting is development of an RL-based mechanism to augment computation floating in edge computing. Here is the table of contents of today's presentation. First, I'd like to talk about background of the research and research objective. In recent years, due to the influence of smart city projects, IoT devices or IoT applications have exploded all over the world. The more IoT devices and applications, the more data they generated. According to IDC, the amount of data generated worldwide is expected to reach approximately 163 zettabytes by 2025 if it continues to grow at this rate. Most of this data will be generated by IoT devices and applications. Up until now, cloud computing has been the technology of choice to process IoT data, but it has been characterized by a certain latency in task response due to the physical distance between the cloud data center that processes the task and the user device. It is important to achieve low latency in IoT applications where real-time performance is important. Edge computing has emerged as a new model to solve this problem. It plays a role in reducing the load on the cloud data center by distributing it to servers with computing power near user devices. Due to the short physical distance, latency is low and it can support real-time IoT applications. However, the computing power of edge server is limited compared to that of servers in this center. Due to this limited computing power of the edge server, there is a risk of compromising real-time performance when the edge servers process compute-intensive applications. One technique to solve this problem is called task offloading or computation offloading. Computation offloading is intended to shorten service response latency and improve service quality by offloading compute-intensive or latency-sensitive tasks to the edge devices or nearby edge servers. However, the technology of computation offloading is still in the development stage. Most of the computation offloading models implement static offloading, which in many cases cannot handle the increase or decrease of user devices' data. Therefore, the objective of this research is to build an intelligent computing model that introduces an RL-based offloading method to the conventional edge computing model in order to achieve dynamic task offloading in edge computing environment and maintain high quality of service. The third content is an introduction to related research. The related research is the paper Q-learning-based task offloading and resource optimization for a collaborative computing system, published by Gao et al. In 2020. They worked on the same optimal task offloading method like us, but they introduced a Q-learning-based method. The second related research is the paper Edge Computing Task Offloading Scheme using Reinforcement Learning for IIoT Scenario, published by Hossein et al. In 2020. They similarly employed a Q-learning-based task offloading approach as a use case scenario as an environment with a multiple industrial IoT called IIoT scenario. In this way, most of the current research on task offloading uses Q-learning, which is a general reinforcement learning algorithm. However, Q-learning does not support complex task offloading or dimensional expansion of state action space due to the increase in the number of user devices, because it cannot continuously support the state space and action space. In the fourth content, I will give an overview of reinforcement learning and the scenario of its use in this research. In this research, we use reinforcement learning, a machine learning method, to help the mechanism to perform appropriate offloading. Reinforcement learning is a method that allows a machine or an agent to interact with the environment to take action, and learn by trial and error to discover the best policy of action. In reinforcement learning, several elements need to be defined for the model to be able to learn. In this research, the agent is defined as the primary edge server with task offloading and allocation mechanism. The state as the system load rate and location information of each edge server, and the action as the task offloading vector, and the reward as the total number of tasks processed by the entire system. The system runs by adapting the reinforcement learning model defined by these elements to the environment. For specific learning algorithm, we adopted a method called DDPG. DDPG supports continuous value control problem and has the potential to make offloading decisions with more complex parameters than conventional methods. In the fifth content, I will give an overview of the experiment and environment results. The environment can be real or virtual, but since reinforcement learning often requires a large number of learning trials, most learning experiments conducted in a virtual environment. In this research, we conducted learning experiments in a virtual edge computing environment that we developed by ourselves. In this experiment, we investigating the effectiveness of an RL-based computation floating mechanism by increasing or decreasing the reward obtained from the virtual environment. The experimental environment is a simple local edge computing environment consisting of 50 edge devices and 10 edge servers. Tasks are randomly generated from among 4 sizes. Each edge server is limited in a number of tasks it can process simultaneously, regardless of the task size. Attempting to process more tasks than the limit will cause latency, leading to reduced reward. The result of the experiment shows that the reward gradually increased as the learning episode progressed. However, there were some episodes where the reward decreased to the same level as the first reward, even at the end of learning. And we judged that the learning was not stable. So we tried the experiment again by reducing the generated task size. That is using only 500 and 1000 and 2000 values. Based on the result of experiment 1, we thought that there were problems with the processing power and the number of edge servers in experimental environments, so we conducted additional experiments in an environment with a lower task size limit. Here is a comparison of the result of each experiment. The rewards were generally better than in experiment 1, confirming stable learning process. Finally, the future plans for this research. Our experimental confirm that the RL-based task offloading mechanism is an effective method in edge computing environment. In the future, we would like to investigate the superiority of the purpose method compared to other existing methods. In the current mechanism, the only parameter for action decision is the task offload vector. In order to maintain the quality of service of the entire system, it is necessary to consider parameters such as task allocation rate and migration bandwidth, and to have the mechanism run complex task offload policies. Okay, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ide. Okay, so do we have questions, comments from the audience? Any question? Comments, please? Okay, let me have a couple of questions. Okay, so what is your reason? Why did you use this method?
Okay, just a moment, please.
So let me repeat the question. What are your reasons why you use this method?
Okay, the computational floating problem is an edge computing environment can be replaced by a combinational optimization problem. Reinforcement learning has been reported in several literature. to be an effective method for solving this combinational optimization problem. So we tried to optimize the problem using reinforcement learning method.
Okay, so the next question is, you presented two experiments, experiments 1 and experiment 2, right? So
Yeah.
can you describe why the results were stable when you did experiment 2 compared to experiment 1?
Oh.
You have two experiments. So you have, the first was unstable, and then when you did the experiment number 2, it became stable. So could you make some comments or explain
Okay.
why?
The only change from experiment 1 is that we reduced the maximum task size. This suggests that 3,000 kilobytes task size used in experiment 1 is bottleneck and is related to processing failures and latency at the edge server.
So this 3,000 kilobytes, you mentioned something like 3,000 kilobytes. So this is 3,000 kilobytes, the data size? What is this 3,000, or the task size? 3,000, right? 3,000 kilobytes. This is the task size, right?
Yeah, right.
The task size. Okay. Okay. So aside from the effect on the number of generated tasks, say something like 3,000K. So what other possible causes which may have influenced the stability of the results?
Okay, just a moment.
Because you have number of generated tasks. Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I'm afraid I don't understand.
Okay, again, so again, the question is, aside from the effect of the number of generated tasks, say something like when you decrease to when you use 3,000K generated tasks. So what other possible causes which may have influenced the stability of the results in the second experiment? Okay.
I'm sorry, I
Okay.
still don't understand your question.
Okay, anyway, okay, let me have the last question. In the current simulation environment, what is the possible number of maximum number of devices, servers, and tasks that can be handled by your simulation environment? Because you mentioned something like you did these experiments through simulation. So, and there are a number of servers, devices, and number of tasks generated. So what is the possible maximum number that this simulation environment can handle?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We have not experimented with the maximum number of devices, so we don't have specific number, but in theory we think we can handle a group of devices that existed several thousand. However, whether running can proceed in such an environment depends on the performance of the main machine learning the simulation.
Okay, so it all depends. One big factor is also the type of machine that is going to run the simulation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So not unless if you have questions, then we proceed to the next speaker, please. Okay, Mr. Ide, can you turn off your screen?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh, can we have the third paper, please?
It's me, Alana?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay.
If you're
So-
ready, go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Alana, and today I will present to you my project. It's called An Initial Assessment of Chatbot for Rumination-Focused Cognitive Behavior Therapy in College and Students. I'm really proud to present this work for you guys. My partners was Leonardo, Metanias, and Zeniti, and we are from the Federal University of Sergipe here in Brazil. So we decided to work with chatbot because in recent years, big companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon have been involving the use of chatbot of our daily lives. So chatbot is good is easy to access everyone, and its capability is easy to make people using the chatbot. So we can try to humanize the conversations using chatbot. Since the first chatbot was released, that was Eliza from Weizenball. And when you use chatbot in mobile phones, we naturalize the conversation in familiar surroundings for people who are using and conversation with the chatbot. So in 2017, we found the Wobot, this chatbot from Stanford, and the chatbot is using for teach the CBT for college students in the University of Stanford. So we saw in this chat one opportunity to apply here in Brazil. So talking with my partners, we found a new therapy called rumination-focused cognitive behavior therapy that has a protocol and has some protocol to use it on the internet, this therapy. So we decided to use this and try to make like a one robot in Portuguese. So whom released in 2018. And in addition, we have the urgent need to provide great assistance for mental health. We have a great demander in relation to the capacity of the qualification professional for this. So the WHO has created a comprehensive mental health action plan, and they believe that promoting mental health and well-being helps this group building resilience so they can handle difficult situations and adversity as well. So our main goal was analyze through a controlled experiment one chatbot tool with rumination-focused cognitive behavior therapy in order to evaluate with respect to verify the possibility of using effectiveness and quality of the psychology programs and university students in the context of the university. So for this, we using this method, we did a exploratory study to identify and characterize chatbots and applications designed to aid mental health and related illness, as well as existing techniques for test and treatment prevention. We did a field research to find the people who was using the Romy, and we did the experiment with Romy and some college students. And after that, we did a statistical analysis, and we can classify the nature of the research as applied, and that analysis was quantitative. As for the objectives, it is exploratory and explanatory with the application of in vivo experiment. So for explaining more about the Romy and the background around this, let's explain what is rumination-focused cognitive behavior therapy. It's like one evolution about the CBT, that's cognitive behavior therapy. That's a therapy who works with three things: feelings, thoughts, and actions. And for the author of the RFCBT, he focused on the rumination, that is a feeling that we still making some loop in our mind, some about one feeling or about one thought or about one action that we did. And these things makes us feeling painful thoughts and dismotivation and concentration problems and loss of thirsty and some excessive fatigue. And sometimes we can be depressive in anxious. So we use this therapy because he still have an adaptation for the internet that introduce the generality and accessibility available to convenience cover the psychological treatments. So for testing this therapy, we use two tests. One called rumination test. That's from the book of the Vaticans, the author of the RFCBT, and we use the PHQ-4 test. This evaluate the depressive and anxious feelings. So this is Romy. Romy works on the Facebook page. Here's in Portuguese, maybe you don't understand. So here's how it works. We have I'm using the message on Facebook, and we have this for people who talk with Romy. And for our experiment, we use these two hypotheses. That one is about the feelings of the rumination, if it will be different before and after the using of the chatbot, and another one is for the levels of the anxiety and depression that we analyzed before and after using the bot. So for the experiment, we decided to use the participants like the university students from 18 to 28 years old. We had 105 people participated in the experiment to the end. For instrumentation, we used the Romy and the PHQ-4 test and the rumination test. And our experiment design was approved by our ethics committee. And we did 15 daily dialogues. On the first and the last day, we applied the PHQ-4 test, and for the first and the 7th and the 15th day, the rumination test was applied. And the second part, every day at the end of each day of dialogues, messages were started to be statistically analyzed at the end of the experiment. So for validation of the results of the experiment, we use the Kolmogorov, Snov, and Shapiro-Wilk normative tests. And after verifying the normality, the rumination test used the t-test because it was normal, and the PHQ-4 test used the erection test. And the results was both the rumination test and the PHQ-4 resulted in p-values less than 0.05, rejecting the null hypothesis. So, in conclusion, it has been showing that there was a change in the symptoms after using the chatbot as a result of the mitigation of symptoms and evaluating the mental disorders. So we have some treaties of validity for this work. One is disconstructibility, one that we may be choosing subject that for the conversation. It was strange for the user, and maybe for some people using chatbots as possibly treats. And for another treat of validity is internal validity. It's about the response time from the chatbot and the conversation sensitive content, some fatigue for the people who are using, the participant's current mental health status, and the demanded characterization. And for external validity, the experiment was able to reach people outside the university environment and outside the target age group. So we eliminate this from analysis. Finally, for more experiment, we needed to will be needed to generalize the conclusions presented. However, the results allow us to draw scenarios and guide future investigations. For conclusion, the benefits brought by technology cover different public spheres: the social, placing the citizen in the decision-making process, the economic and academic. Since the data collected are the basis of generation, treat, tested, and published assumptions and hypotheses. And regarding the state of art, this project also had a difference to the use of Portuguese language and aspect beyond CBT, such as rumination, which is considered one of the cases triggering a worsening of feelings of depression and anxiety. The bot also offered an alert system with each, if the participant presents sentence that refers serious situation, they will be directed by the bot to talk to the CVV, is a life appreciation center here in Brazil, that talk to someone in charge, or call to the emergency medical care system, that here in Brazil is SAMU, and informing the forums instantly. In addition, playful games are presented for better understanding of feelings and thoughts, as well as video and animated images to improve the involvement with the participants. So finally, as statistical results, we can consider the HUMI statistically represent a decrease in the university participants' rumination, anxiety, and depressive symptoms. In this sense, we can conclude that HUMI performed well with the university students and could be involved in reach more people. Some reference from my work, and this is it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so it's question and answer time. Do we have questions from the audience? Comments? Okay, so if not any, then let me have some questions. You showed something like a demo, a short demo of this chatbot, and but I didn't get it because it's yeah, that's it. So could you possibly explain a bit more on this kind of thing?
Okay, here is like a hello, Alana. Nice to meet you. One question: can you see my button below?
Yes.
Yes. Great. Is this from like a screen from a mobile phone? It's like this. So our chatbot is based world based, and we have a storyteller for people follow the chats in the right way.
Okay, and then you mentioned something like there were a number of dialogues in one day. You perform some dialogues, and then this kind of thing, daily dialogues. And how long is one dialogue?
We put like 5 minutes per day for
5 minutes per day.
Yes.
So is it something like 5 minutes in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening? I mean, does time has something to do with this 5 minutes?
it is really flexible to people talking with him. It's like
Okay.
People can talk in morning or afternoon or on the night.
Okay. So your subjects of the experiments were students. Why did you use students?
Okay, we working with the protocol. The RFCBT has some subjects that we can working on, and in our group we have one person who works with the psychology. So we did some self-help dialogues for implement in the Roman subject.
Okay. So if you're going to change this age bracket of your subjects, will there be some changes on on the possible outcomes of the experiments?
Yes, I think so.
So if they're going to be older than 28 years old, so what will it be? What do you think?
In this year, we actually expand the rooming for teenagers. So we expand some dialogues, like we have now more dialogues, and we still have a good result for this. We make some difference in the subjects of the dialogues, and the result was really good too.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Any questions? Any other questions, please? Okay. Not unless you have questions or comments, then we proceed with the last paper.
Okay.
Ermi? Thank you, Alana.
Thank you so much.
So we proceed with Emery.
Yes, let me share my screen.
Sure. Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes. Okay. So you are from what is TR? Turkey?
Yes, Turkey.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Hello everyone. My name is Emre Ribos from Informatics and Information Security Research Center of TÜBİTAK. Our study is about price forecasting with deep learning in business to consumer markets with the Professor Mehmet Aktaş from Yıldız Technical University. In an outline, I will mention about the introduction part of our study, and then after I will mention about our proposed methodology architecture with the details of the daily web crawling, preprocessing, technical indicators, discrete wave transform, autoencoder, and Lstm Forecaster. And at the last part of my presentation, I will share the evaluation results and the conclusion, of course. And mainly academically and professionally, price forecasting is a challenging and essential problem. Our study proposes a forecasting mechanism for the next day's price of a product in business to consumer market. And we have four different investigation, four different research questions. Like in the first, in business to consumer markets, we wonder that can the deep learning algorithms be used for forecasting? At the second, which preprocessing methods can be used in the business to consumer market? At third, which deep learning methods can be used to extract features with the historical price data in the business to consumer markets? At the last, are the technical indicators useful in forecasting in business to consumer markets? And in the scope of this research, we collect first different airline companies' ticket prices, and then after we create a price index with using these collected ticket prices, and then after we apply the discrete wave transform to get rid of the noisy parts of the data, the outliers. Get rid of the outliers in the data, and then after we calculate some technical indicators analytically, and then in addition to these technical indicators, we extract the deep features of the price data with using an autoencoder. And then after we forecast the price with long short-term memory, I mean LSTM. And this is our proposed methodology architecture with 3 parts. At the first part is our data collection mechanism. In the data collection mechanism, we use a daily web crawler to collect the ticket prices from airline websites. And then the web crawler store the ticket prices into the CSV file by daily to the disk. And the bottom side is our data processing pipeline. In the data processing pipeline, the first 3 steps is preprocessing. In the preprocessing, we first read the batch data from disk, and then we filter by route. I mean, and the departure and landing airports. After filtering, we deduplicate the data by date and company criteria. And then after we fill the missing days by an average of previous and next week's same day. And then after we calculate some well-known technical indicators, they are also used in consumer-to-consumer market. And then after we apply a wave transfer to get rid of the noisy parts of the data. And then with using the price data, wave transformed price data, we train an autoencoder model to get the encoded price, I mean the feature vector, to get the feature vector from autoencoder. And then after we finally train an Lstm Forecaster model with using the data from encoded price and also some selected technical indicators. And then after, at the last part of our architecture, we evaluate, we test our Lstm Forecaster model. And these are our technical indicators used in our study. They are moving average, convergence, divergence, Bollinger Bands Index, exponential moving average for 20 days, and moving average for 5 days, and moving average for 10 days, and the rate of change. The technical indicators are some well-known by calculated using the close price index data, of course. And autoencoders, you know, are unsupervised deep learning architectures typically used to extract features or remove noise by learning domain data. And of course, the autoencoder architecture is very depending on the problem and the data set used. In our project, we use 3 different autoencoder types to extract the features. And the first one is single layer feed-forward dense autoencoder. In this type of autoencoder, there is an encoder layer and a decoder layer. And this type of autoencoder runs feed-forward way. And then the second one is stacked autoencoder. In the stacked autoencoder, the feature vector outputs of the first autoencoder linked to the second autoencoder's encoder layer as an input, and so on and so forth. And at the third, the Lstm autoencoder. And Lstm autoencoder contains an Lstm layer encoder and an Lstm layer decoder to feature vector. To get the feature vector, and also contains an Lstm cells and Lstm units inside of it, and both encoder and decoder parts. And finally, in data processing pipeline of us, there is an Lstm Forecaster. In general, our problem is regression based because we try to forecast the next day's ticket sale price. We use the Lstm Forecaster to forecast the next day's price using the deep encoded features comes from autoencoder part and the calculated technical indicators. And the evaluation part, the dataset details of evaluation part is like that. Our web crawlers collected the train and test dataset daily for domestic flights in the Turkish lira currency in the second half of 2020. It's exactly 158 days. And our web crawlers use 3 different airlines companies' websites. And then we will after make a price index with using 3 different airlines company website. And after filtering flights from Istanbul to Ankara, we get 4,500 records. It's almost 4,500 records. And Istanbul is the most populous city in Turkey, and the Ankara is second most populous city in Turkey, and also the capital of the Turkey. And because we select Istanbul and Ankara in a data set. And then after pre-processing, the data set is reduced to 158 records. And please note that the record count is here 158 records is the same with the data collected by web crawlers. After pre-processing, these huge data sets reduced to 158 records. Because the pre-processing pipeline contains a deduplicator inside of it. And the experimental design of our evaluation, we set up mainly two different experimental setups to answer our research questions. In the first experiment, we compare the performances of the autoencoders and the wave transform, of course. At the second experiment, we measure the contribution of the calculated technical indicators. Of course, the loss, we measure the loss with root mean square error and the mean absolute error both. In the root mean square error and the mean absolute error metrics. And in the first experiment, you remember, we are looking forward to measure the autoencoder types, the effect of the autoencoder types and the discrete wave transform. Firstly, using discrete wave transform seems to be beneficial than not using discrete wave transform, regardless of the autoencoder type. And also, the LSTM autoencoder perform better results across the all over the other autoencoders. And in the second experiment, you remember, we searched the most beneficial technical indicators. And whenever we use the moving average convergence divergence, Bollinger Band Index, moving average 5 and 10 days with the closed data, and we get the most successful model in our study. And they are the most beneficial technical indicators, I mean. And as a conclusion, we investigate the benefits of the discrete wave transform method and the use of the technical indicators in business to consumer markets. In here, I should make a remember in air fryer prices it's a big example for business to consumer markets. It's a global parameter to business to consumer markets. And also we also test the effect of the different autoencoders in the feature extraction phase on the time series price data. And finally, our benchmarking results show that applying discrete wave transform using a subset of technical indicators and using LSTM autoencoder for feature extraction succeeded the forecaster to better results for forecasting ticket prices as an example of business to consumer market. And as an acknowledgement, our study is carried out using the data center and web crawler facilities of Cloud Computing and Big Data Research Laboratory of TÜBİTAK Bilgem. We thank to TÜBİTAK Bilgem. And my presentation is over. Thank you for listening. Is there any questions?
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. And so the floor is now open for questions, comments. Do we have any? Do we have some questions or comments, please? Okay, so let me have a few questions. You mentioned something like you are using something like a daily web crawling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is this something like automated?
Yes, the daily web crawler is automated for the daily for the collected daily ticket prices in different airline companies' websites.
Yeah, what I mean, of course, this is going to be automated. Otherwise, if you're going to do it manually, that's going to be very obvious. But the thing is, what I mean is it something like something like periodically maybe every 30 minutes or whatever?
Yes, periodically it runs for every day.
Every day. But what's the time interval between?
For the 24 hours in a day.
24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not for IP blocking. We run the web crawler daily, but one time in a day.
Okay. Okay. So I'm not so familiar with implementation web crawlers, although some backgrounds on this. But so, do you need something like permission to do this web crawling? To this, especially because this is something like sensitive data, especially airline prices, right? Like,
yes, the data open for to everyone, and the web crawlers act as a person in here and look at the site.
yeah, okay. So I thought you were something like a mention crawling this raw data. So it's not raw data, right? So these are published data already. Okay.
We hadn't published our data set, but
No, what I mean is that the published prices of airline tickets. So that's what that's because that's already public. So you don't have to get any permission from the airline.
A5 prices are public data sets.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
No ethical issue in here.
Okay, so in evaluating, in doing your evaluation, you have something like different criteria for combined in evaluating in your evaluation. So does that mean, I think somewhere in slide number 14
in here?
Oh yeah, okay. So you have something like different evaluation factors, different evaluation criteria. So, and I think later on your slides, somewhere in your conclusion, so you have a combination of this evaluation criteria, evaluation methods. So you do this first, you do this first, you do this first, something like, right?
Yes, by brute forcing technique, we use all of the technical indicators by a subset and a power set of all of them, and we publish in here 5 of combinations, 1's combinations, 2's combinations, 3's combinations with the best results, with the best technical indicators, I mean.
Okay, so from here features you have. Okay, so it has to be you add the one after the other, right? So close, and then you close ROC, close EMA, ROC, something like. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
The close price is fixed, and others are changed in the evaluation.
Okay. So I think I get your point. So how is it progressing at this time? How is it progressing? I mean, are you done with? I mean, you have something like future research.
I couldn't understand, but you asked how the progress of these experiments.
Yes.
We scheduled the runners, and every scheduled run, when finished every scheduled run, they write these technical indicators and the result to the log file. And then after we read the log file as a CSV format, for example, and read and sort by the loss with 1's combinations, 2's combinations, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think it's time, and thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you for your questions.
Okay. So, okay, I think we're on time, right? Angela, are you?
Yes, Bob, we are perfect on time.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much to the presenters who have presented their papers, and hoping we have. I think we also have the other people online, but anyway, so thank you very much for your uh, presentations, and hoping to see you someday, probably next time. Okay.
Hopefully.
Thank you. Hopefully next time. Yeah. I hope we're going to get through with this pandemic. Okay. Once again, thank you very much. Okay. Angela, I'm going to chair the next session. So is it going to be the same floor, the same room for the next session?
Is an unknown professor, namely Bernadi Abdouan.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
So I'm going to be in the same room.
Room G, the same room. Yes.
Room G. Okay. So we start at 16:30, right? So we
Yes.
have about 10 minutes break.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. So, okay, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going see you in about 10 minutes after the break. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Is on.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. So we have.
Oh, by me.
Okay. Hello, Angela.
This is me with the second speaker.
Okay. You are the second speaker.
No, the girl near me, close to me.
Okay,
Is the
beside
second
you.
speaker.
Beside you.
We
Okay,
were trying sharing the screen, actually.
Okay. So we have 4 papers in this session. So let me know if the speakers are present. Okay. So the first paper is on modeling and verification of contactless mobile banking system. Anybody? There are two. There are
Yes.
2 authors of this paper.
Yes, I am Tejnaran Thakur.
This one? That's you, right? Okay. And
Tejnaran Thakur.
okay. And so your name is Ted. Sorry, but
Tej. Sir. Tej.
Ted. Teji.
Yes.
Oh, Teji. Okay, Teji
Yes.
Narayan Thakur.
Yes. Sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So the second presenter, second paper, strategic guidelines to increase the resilience.
The second speaker is close to me. That's
Okay,
Priscilla.
what's her name? What's your name, please?
Priscilla.
Priscilla. Priscilla. Okay, Priscilla. Okay. And the third paper. The third paper is from the recognition of the identity values.
Here I am. I'm Alessio Flores. I will present the third paper.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what about the fourth paper? Applying building information modeling. Francisca Maltinte, Luca Curelli. Is the fourth paper, a presenter of the fourth paper around? Presenter of the fourth paper. Okay. The presenter may be coming late, a bit late. So we proceed with the first paper. Can we? Okay. By the way, I am Bernadi Abduhan from Kyushu Sangyu University, and I'm chairing this session. Okay. So let me have the first paper. Is the presenter ready? Can you share the screen, please?
Yes. Can you see my screen?
Oh yeah.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay.
So shall I start?
Okay. If you're ready, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tejnaran Thakur from Saitama University. Today's my topic is modeling and verification of contactless mobile banking system in e-banking using a SPIN. A mobile banking system is an electronic channel for electronic banking, e-banking all over the world. The main channels for mobile banking earlier was normal banking, in which the customers must visit the banks physically to get all the services. And now in mobile banking also, customers have to visit the banks partially. It means for some services like check, some enhanced banking services, customers must visit the banks partially. And that's why the main objective of this paper is to model a contactless mobile banking system in which the contactless mobile banking system can offer all the services without going physically in the banks. Financial institutions do not provide electronic checks, and the enhanced banking services such as third-party payment, digital lending, electronic check to the mobile banking users on their mobile devices. A global pandemic COVID-19 has created a very difficult situation, and customers would like to access all the banking services remotely. This paper proposes a new contactless mobile banking system, Cmbs, that integrates enhanced banking services, including electronic check to the mobile banking users. Cmbs provides this facility to the users, mobile banking users, like registration and cancellation of the user. Generally, the user is registered in the mobile banking system but the users are not cancelled either by the user themselves or by the mobile banking system. But the CMBS includes the registration and cancellation of the users so that the data privacy of the user is maintained. Next is payment transactions. In this fund transfer, third-party payments transfers come in this service. Another is digital lending. In normal lending process, customers have to go many times in the banks to get the lending facility. CMBS provides digital lending to process all the lending procedure using CMBS. And the next one is electronic check. The physical check can be replaced with the electronic check, and CMBS provides the electronic check to the mobile banking users to process the electronic check. Now let's see the advantages of CMBS. In banking operations, the administration of banking users are necessary, and that is completed by registration and cancellation of the banking users. In payment section, the fund transfer and third-party payment facilities can be provided by the CMBS. Similarly, for lending, digital lending is provided by CMBS. And the most important is check handling. There are limitations in the physical check. There are many limitations. And one of the most important limitation is compulsory physical presence. And therefore, physical check is replaced by an electronic check in CMBS. Now let's see the processing of electronic check using CMBS. The payer request for each check issue to the mobile banking system, and mobile banking system forwards the e-check issue request for verification to the core banking system. Core banking system verifies the e-check and issues the e-check and notify the banking user payer. Then sends the e-check to the mobile banking system using mobile banking system to the payee. Now payee request for the clearing of the e-check. Mobile banking system forwards the clearing request to the National Payment Gateway. National Payment Gateway is the responsible for all the settlement of the payment. Then National Payment Gateway performs the e-check settlement and sends the notification to the payee. Now let's see the proposed model. CMBS consists of the extended finite state machine model and Promela model. There are some notations used in the CMBS like REG registration, PR parameter, MBS mobile banking system, CBS core banking system, and so on. Now let's see the EFSM model of CMBS. First of all, the user is registered for the mobile banking CMBS, and if the parameter is valid, then user is succeeded for registration. After that, request for authentication and authorization. If parameter is valid, then authentication and authorization is successful for that user. Then user can request for fund transfer, third-party payment, digital lending, e-check issuing, e-check clearing, and cancellation. In fund transfer, there are constraints like payment amount should be less than or equal to account balance. OTP should be equal from user to the mobile banking system. The date of birth of user and mobile banking system register should be equal. And similarly, the constants are in third-party payment, e-check clearing. And if the constants are valid, then fund transfer, third-party payment, and e-check clearing is success. Otherwise, there is failure. Similarly, for digital lending, credit rating should be greater than or equal to minimum rating, and loan amount should be less than or equal to approved loan amount. Then digital lending is successful. Otherwise, there is failure. Similarly, users can request for cancellation from the mobile banking system. And if the parameter is valid, then cancellation is successful. Now there is a sequence diagram CMBS. There are 4 agents in the sequence diagram CMBS. They are mobile user, mobile banking system, core banking system, and National Payment Gateway. The mobile user request for authentication, registration, and authorization. And if the parameter is valid, mobile banking system checks the parameter. If it's valid, then user is authenticated. And then user can request for fund transfer request, third-party payment request, digital lending request, e-check issue request, and e-check clearing request. and cancellation request. In all the request, mobile banking system forwards the request to core banking system. And in case of third-party transfer request and e-check clearing request, the mobile banking system forwards the request to National Payment Gateway. Now let's see the Promela model of CMBS. Promela model of CMBS consists of the following objects: process like a mobile user, mobile banking system, core banking system, National Payment Gateway. And message channels are used to communicate between the process. Mobile user, mobile banking system message channel is used to send message from mobile user process to mobile banking system process. Similarly, these process message channels are used to send the message from one process to another process. There are linear temporal logic process, LTL properties, and in Promela model we have specified 20 LTL properties. These LTL properties are related to registration of the user. These LTL properties are related to login success. These are related to authentication and authorization of the user in the system. These are related to fund transfer success. These are related to transfer amount. These are related to third-party payment success. These are related to fund transfer success and transfer amount. These are related to transfer amount. After this, to verify the model, we accomplished experiment using SPIN in a computer with the Intel, RAM, and Windows. We used SPIN to verify the safety properties of CMBS for up to 20 users. SPIN checked the state space for invalid end states and session balance during the verification of safety properties. SPIN results show that there is an increase in verification time and memory used with the increase in the number of users during the verification of safety properties. SPIN didn't show any error or deadlock during the verification of safety properties. After that, we ran SPIN to verify the LTL properties for 20 users. These are the result of the LTL properties. It shows the time, memory, transition, status to and depth reached during the verification of the LTL properties for 20 users. SPIN didn't show any errors or during the verification of LTL properties. Let's see the conclusions. Mobile users are multiplying by leaps and bounds. However, mobile banking customers are not increasing accordingly because of not having enhanced banking services and security problems. This paper developed a new contactless mobile banking system that integrates enhanced banking services to the mobile banking users. Banking users can use the enhanced banking services remotely using CMBS on mobile and will play a significant role towards a cashless society in the digital world. We observed from our experimental SPIN results that the CMBS doesn't encompass any deadlocks or errors within the model. Financial institutions can implement the CMBS model for providing enhanced banking services to the banking customers globally. Thank you so much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. And okay, it's question and answer time.
I leave the floor to Priscilla.
Priscilla, okay. So, do you have something like a question, Priscilla? We still have question and answer time. Do you have a question or answer?
No.
Question or comments?
No,
A few more minutes.
question.
Okay. Okay. Anybody who has question or comments on the presentation? Okay. If not any, then let me have some questions. Okay. So, do you have something like a related research on your topic?
Yes. The related research was for ATM system, modeling and verification of ATM.
Yeah, but what I mean, can you cite or discuss some related
research? For ATM machine and for
what I know is this kind of your topic is something like many is very interesting, and so many are doing this kind of work. So, do you have some particular related research which you can compare?
The earlier research was on the modeling and verification of ATM systems. There was no research on mobile banking system. Globally there are 7.8 billion global population, in which the mobile users are 5.2 billion, but only 1.8 billion people are using mobile banking system. So very less. So
yes,
there should be such a system so that more and more people can use the mobile banking system and leads to other cashless societies.
Yes, but the thing is, what I was trying to say is that do you have some? Are there some related papers? Because if there are some related papers regarding your research, then that's probably something like a factual data.
Yeah, for mobile banking system, this is first research for mobile banking system.
Is it only in Japan?
This
in
is
Japan
the first.
or in the world?
Yes, sir.
In Japan or
for
in the
mobile
world?
banking. Yes, sir.
For mobile banking.
For ATM, for internet banking.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir. For in modeling and verification.
Okay, because I think with regards to this something like mobile banking, other parts of the world, especially this developed countries,
yes.
Japan is a bit lagging behind this mobile banking systems, actually. But
yes, sir. The developing countries, particularly the poor countries, they are very behind the mobile banking system. No.
So you're also considering Japan as one of it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm from Nepal, and yeah, I have seen people are not using mobile banking system, and all the developing countries also. So hope these people, the financial institution, will implement all the facilities in mobile banking system. Then people will be encouraged to use the more and more mobile banking system.
So you're actually having the scenario in Nepal, not in Japan, because I think you are based in Japan.
No, it is for globally, sir. Globally, it is a scenario of global. In global data says that only 1.8 billion mobile users are using mobile banking system, mobile banking customers.
Because one of the great issue of mobile banking is security. So how are you going to deal with this?
Yeah, one is security, sir. One is the security, and other is the enhanced banking services. Not getting all the services using mobile banking system. Other in the same side, the security is also very important. So our other paper is related to security. Also, we have published for how to anti-phishing model for mobile banking system. We have published.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, we don't have much time anymore. So can we proceed to the next paper? Thanks, Ted. Can we proceed to Priscilla, please? Priscilla. So from Italy, Basilicata. So you're with Potenza.
Yes.
I've been there. I have been there.
Okay, I start.
Okay, can you start, please? Thank you.
Thank you. So the following presentation illustrates an integrated strategic proposal to increase the resilience of an internal area of Basilicata region. Inland areas are shown in shades of green on the map. The strategy for this area moves on several pillars. On the one hand, the need to network small municipalities to strengthen the intermunicipal system and cooperation practices. On the other hand, the need to develop an effective integration covering all the main system in strategic design. The methodological approach of the research relies on a logical ordering procedure that goes through the phases of interrogating the subject actively involved, such as the stakeholders, and arranging the basis needs, organized in the form of a hierarchical structure of problems, the problem tree, to identify a program structure that links investments, action, and expect results. The synthesis phase involves the construction of.
Excuse me, can you possibly change your slides? Change your slides.
Is the first one?
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. The synthesis phase involves the construction of a log frame matrix in which general objectives, specific objectives, expected results, actions, indicators, and mean of verification, assumptions, and inputs are compared. The case study is the Igagri Valley that is located in the southwestern quadrant of Basilicata region and includes 10 municipalities in the province of Potenza.
Excuse me, maybe you have to change your slide to proceed your slides because this is only the first slide. You have so many slides.
Okay. 1 second. I can't see that.
It doesn't match with what you are talking, your slides.
Yes, 1 second. Did you see the second slide?
No, it's only the first page. Okay, that's the second.
Just a moment, please.
Okay. Because I think she forgot to change her slides. Okay. It's better now.
Is the first one?
Second, this is already the second slide.
Okay.
It's okay.
Vediamo un attimo. Non è quello il problema. This is the third slide. Did you see?
No, it's still the second.
Okay. Now?
Second slide, still second slide.
Scorre proprio. Ok. Vabbè, non ti preoccupare.
Quindi,
ma secondo me comunque non scorre.
in this way, you can see the
Okay.
slides going on.
Yeah, this is okay. Slide 3, slide 4. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So this is the scorre? Sì. Non so se scorre.
Those are the notes.
Okay. 1 second. Okay. So the case studies is the Igagri Valley that is located in the southwestern quadrant of Basilicata region and includes 10 municipalities in the province of Potenza. It constitutes a significant portion of the strategic Agri Valley area upstream the artificial dam of Pertusillo.
We still have the same problem.
Yeah, it's changing already.
Devo scorrere poi. Allora noi ci dicono togli qua.
Ah, vedi, ora funziona.
Ah, va sulla.
Yeah, that's it. It's
Ok,
already changing.
ok, devo scorrere con il coso.
Lo scorro. Ok.
Non vedo il mouse, ok. So, difficilissimo. Vabbè. The software used for the elaboration is GIS and was investigated the geological and geomorphological aspects, which show that is a mountain valley crossed by the Agri River, which flows in the Pertusillo Dam. The naturalistic environment system, because the area of Agri Valley is inserted almost entirely within the perimeter of the National Park of the Lucanian Apennines Val d'Agri Lago Negrese. The study of the natural and anthropic risks, considering that is an area of Basilicata with a very high seismic and industrial risk due to oil extraction. Trog and this is the context analysis. Through an analytic and support tool, for example, the analysis, it's possible to detect all the spatial or social situation in which there is an incorrect use of resources, in the sense of the three principles of efficiency, equity, and conservation of resources. The evaluation was made concerning the various systems in which the territory under examination was considered. The naturalistic environmental system, the tourism and historical, architectural and cultural heritage, the settlement system and the territorial armor, infrastructure system and economic system. At at the basis of the strategic planning process is the identification of objectives, which are defined as the removal of problems that oppose the achievement of the objective themselves. In particular, the problem tree technique acquires the problems, identify the main problem, and organize all the problems, dividing them into problems that causes the main problem and the problems that are the effects of the main problem. The same thing is done with the objective tree, which is to put the problem tree in a positive way, from the means to the purpose. From the organization of the thematic objective trees, it was possible to identify and extrapolate 8 specific objectives. They are the promote recovery strategies for public and private buildings for hospitality and tourist accommodation, the risk mitigation at the urban and territorial scale, improve the local public transport offer, and so on. So the strategy to be adopted concerns increasing the resilience of the territory of the Agri Valley and consists of two specific priority objectives: the mitigation of risks at the urban and territorial scale, and the promotion of strategy for the recovery of public and private buildings. The two objectives are closely related to the concept that the recovery of the properties must be aimed at the subsequent reuse of the same. The synthesis phase is realized with the construction of the log frame matrix, in which general objectives, specific objectives, expected results, and action with indicators, means of verification, assumption, and inputs are compared. Following the results of the log frame matrix, the overall vision of the proposed strategy and priority intervention are represented in two summary documents for the entire area. The map shows the action of the strategy for each municipality to increase the resilience of the entire area in the theme of risk mitigation. The second map focuses on the recovery and tourist enhancement of the minor historic centers. These two graphical representations focus on only two aspects of the whole strategy. However, the concept that emerges strongly is that only by networking resources between minor historic centers can resilience be increased. I finish telling that the Aigagri Valley is experiencing a phase of decline, which emerged in particular in the population decrease and the higher rate of seniority and abandonment of housing, even of a certain historical value. However, it is also an area with considerable potential. When all municipalities in the case study area are considered as a single system and have a common strategy, that points to a common vision. The resilience can be increased. That is the ability to adopt, to change and reorganize. The actions reported in the logical framework matrix are clear and organic because they meet the needs of the territory and maintain their systemic character. They are also a starting point for strengthening the integrated management of planning and the service activities as the only possible way to aspire to become a fully functioning intermunicipality system. I'm finished. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, we don't have much time for long questions. If you have if anybody has a quick question or comments on this issue, on this paper presentation.
Bob, I have one. Can
Okay,
I?
go ahead.
I would like to ask a kind of an example about the problem tree is working. How you can define the main problem and so on.
Okay, I answer telling that the problem tree is in this photo is have at the center there is the main problem. Then in the bottom part there are the problems that are the causes of the main problem, like low incentive and investment in local public transport. And at the top, there are the effect of the problem, such as the high use of private vehicles.
Okay.
That's it?
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, we don't have much time already. Are losing time. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Priscilla. And shall we proceed with the next paper, the third paper?
Yes, let me share the presentation.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Let me know if you can see the presentation, please.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's okay. Okay, if you're ready, please begin.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alessio Floris, and I'm presenting a contribution developed with Professoressa Anna Maria Colavitti, Professor Andrea Pirinu, and architect Sergio Serra, entitled From the Recognition of the Identity Values to the Definition of Urban Regeneration Strategies, the Case of the Military Landscape in Cagliari. This contribution is part of a wider research project named Socioeconomic Assessment of the Impact of the Military Presence in Sardinia, an integrated approach to economic, social, environmental, and territorial analysis carried out by the University of Cagliari and funded by the region of Sardinia. Among other goals, the project aims to evaluate the spatial dynamics and spatial outcomes resulting from the presence of military assets on settlement development, the definition of alternative strategic and project scenarios for the target military compounds, and the analysis of the process and the relationship between military and civilian areas. In this regard, the work focuses on the methods of analysis and representation of military urban landscapes through a diachronic reconstruction of the settlement development and the recognition of the factors and conditions imposed by the military presence. In particular, we reflect on the need to preserve the identity of military landscapes in the definition of strategies for the regeneration of the settlement and the territorial heritage, but at the same time to offer new uses and facilities for the community in order to increase the quality of urban life. The work examines the regional system of military properties, analyzing different case studies, but this contribution focuses on the case study of the city of Cagliari, in which there is a wide range of military assets due to the downsizing of the needs of national defense, and that is actually underused or dismissed. Even after ownership has been transferred to local authorities, former military assets are often in a state of long-term abandonment, often located in the most strategic context with high environmental and landscape value. These areas have been excluded for decades from collective use and fruition, and affecting the development of the surrounding settlements. A large number of military garrisons and architecture, which fall both in the suburban area and in the consolidated fabric, characterize the landscape of Cagliari, testifying the important strategic role historically exercised by the city due to its favorable location in the Mediterranean. The city of Cagliari is host to military architecture whose origins can be traced back to the period between the 18th century and Second World War, and some of them, especially those in the historical center, have now been absorbed by the settlement, both in geographical terms, let me say, and in terms of uses and functions, while a large part of them is still owned by the Ministry of Defense. The region of Sardinia, as part of a consultation procedure with the Ministry of Defense, has completed a census of military areas and buildings in the territory. And as far as the city of Cagliari is concerned, the survey certificated the presence of 50 military sites covering a total of around 200 hectares, of which 70% is located in the area of Calamosca, Sant'Elia, and Poeto. All of these areas are currently undergoing an intensive process of disposal due to a reduction in military requirements and the recognized importance of these areas for the benefit of the community. Just a few words on the planning of the municipality of Cagliari. The municipal urban plan approved in 2004 is still in force, despite the fact that it is currently being updated, and identify military areas with a view to their disposal. The plan identifies certain uses and functions for the areas in question, more precisely general services of sporting, recreational, cultural, and social nature, and conversion for tourism and strengthening of leisure facilities. Despite this definition, the planned use and functions are not based on detailed analysis that take into account the historical and identity value and the importance in the collective consciousness of this heritage. The peculiarity of the case study lies in the location of the military areas, mostly concentrated on the Cala Mosca promontory, a landscape context characterized by territorial invariance and important environmental components, in a condition of perpetual mixture with the product of historical territorialization processes due to defense requirements. This aspect makes this context particularly interesting in the perspective of a recognition of the historical and identity values linked to the military presence in this specific context. As you can see from this diachronic analysis of the development of the city, at the time of their construction, most of these areas were on the periphery of the city because of strategic needs. And with the intensification of urban development over the years, they have been completely incorporated within the consolidated fabric, although they remain separate areas in terms of function and uses, and are in fact exclusive from use by the civil population. This context is characterized, among other things, by the presence of military architecture of historical and cultural interest, the origins of which date back to the period of Italian unification, which coexist with architecture built in more recent times, up to the period between the two wars, and still active, at least in part. The analysis concerned the use of digital technologies and systems of survey and representation of the architecture and territory, with the provision of digital databases able to support the operative choices related to the ability of modification and conservation of places. In addition to the need for an in-depth knowledge of the values and criticalities, graphic elaboration have been produced on an aerophotogrammetric basis of the military signs in the area of Cala Mosca, constituted in particular by a dense network of paths with a strong naturalistic value that link spaces, both natural and artificial, and focal points of urban perception, nodes of a human scale route directed to the landscape. Also, views were developed, in particular from the sea approaching the coast, in which it has been proposed a diachronic reading of the landscape transformation in the area of Cala Mosca, and also itinerary across the places approach to the architecture and views toward the city and the landscape context. Expressing and sharing these signs becomes fundamental for the understanding and acquisition of the awareness of the places, the first step for its protection and an essential contribution to preserving this memory. In conclusion, the analysis of the evolution of the city also through the representation of the different phases that have affected the urban development allows to chronologically reconstruct the origin of military sites and their gradual involvement within the urban dimension of Cagliari. The interpretation of the process of territorialization and urbanization underlines the cultural and identity values that qualify the military landscape and acquire greater relevance in the collective consciousness. This work tries to highlight the role that these real estate assets could assume with a broad strategy for territorial regeneration, overcoming the approach to the recovery limited to the assignment of a new use destination to the existing built heritage. To this regard, an analytical approach is necessary to reconfigure the relationship between these areas and the surrounding territory, which is the first step towards the introduction of new functions of local interest, but concerning the specific context. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Do we have some questions, comments from the audience, online audience? Do we have any? Let me see. I see some chat. I don't know how to get this chat. Probably they're the question is in the chat. Enter the chat room.
I cannot see any question.
No question in the chat because there's something like two. There's two questions in the chat.
No.
Okay. So I'm not sure. I'm not so familiar with how the setup in Cagliari. Let me clarify this thing. Is there something like a specific office, government office, which is responsible for this reuse of former military assets in Cagliari, or is there something like a pool of different representatives from different offices involved?
Yes, it's a pool of different offices because the property of these properties of these buildings and areas is not related on one on the municipality or in the Ministry of Defense. Many of these buildings and areas are still in the property of the Ministry of Defense, that is responsible for their use and functions. And there is no one specific office that can handle these properties.
But there is something like an umbrella office, which actually something like oversee all these whatever activities of these different representatives from different offices.
Yes, like the Ministry of Defense.
The Ministry of Defense. Okay.
It is at the state level, not a municipality level.
Okay, and so are there already some developments in the reuse of these former military assets? I mean, is there something like categorized, prioritized according to something like use or whatever?
We have some example in the city of Cagliari in reuse of the former military assets, in particular in the historic center. But a lot of these assets, as I show in the presentation, are in a condition of stasis because their function is ended, but the fact that the ministry owns still the buildings and the area can permit to reuse this asset. This issue is not very allowed within the urban planning, and this is the issue because a lot of these areas and buildings are still freezed without a function and without a possibility of reuse.
Okay, if you say for reuse of former military assets, is it going to be something like the government itself is going to reuse these former military assets, or it's going to be sold to the public?
Sold to the private and public.
Okay. Okay.
Because the function is ended in many of these cases.
Okay. So not unless if you have other questions from the audience or comments, then we proceed with the fourth presenter. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alessio.
Thank you.
Applying building information modeling. Management.
Just a moment, I share the presentation.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I introduce myself. I'm Giulia Rubio, PhD student of the University of Cagliari. My argument is applying building information modeling to road pavement management. Social and economic development of territory is closely related to an efficient transport system. Over the years, it has become clear that demographic increase and change in the habits of the population should be supported by a development of transport system, often inadequate to the growing demand for mobility. Civil structure, such as roads, bridges, dams, etc., are subject to deterioration related to aging. Keeping track of their wear and performance condition during exercise is essential to ensure adequate levels of comfort and safety. Over time, an adequate monitoring system entails height management cost, and in some cases, it could result in the loss of human lives. The way maintenance activities are conducted is one of the most critical aspects of the management of civil works. Often a manual approach is used to management information. This leads to a poor definition to resource for life cycle management of construction. It is estimated that about 80% of the time during the facility management phases is used to reconstruct relevant information that is often dispersed during the reconstruction phases. The building information modeling represents a key factor for development of information management process. In the architecture, engineering, and construction sector, the adoption of BIM has resulted in significant saving during the early stages of the life cycle of work due to the production of virtual models and analytical approach. So far, BIM methodology has been applied mainly in the architectural and building construction field, where it has found considerable success, while in infrastructure one, it's still at the beginning. However, widespread use of BIM in building construction has aroused growing interest also for infrastructure building information modeling. This work presents a new BIM procedure to support the management phases of road infrastructures. It has been defined an information model which can interface the three-dimensional model of road pavement with a set information related to monitoring activities. The study concerned a section of the new SS 195, a very important infrastructure for improving the connection between the most important city and the south of Sardinia. The modeling process was divided into 4 different macro phases. For each of these, various sub-phases have been defined and specific action and tools have been adopted. The tool used for the survey is the failing weight deflectometer. Is one of the most used non-descriptive investigation tools in the world due to its precision and its operating that allows to simulate the loads to which roads are subject. In this specific survey, it used the fast deflectometer. It works in the same way of the normal deflectometer, but it allows investigation on the road pavement 5 times shorter than original version. The first phases consist on the processing data collected during the survey campaign and import data into Excel sheet. The geometric model was created using Autodesk Sylvie 3D software, which follows a similar workflow of common road design software. The inputs for this phase were detailed terrain model, second polygonal axis for creating horizontal alignment, and finally vertical alignment. The design drawings in CAD format were the main source of the geometric data. Topographic survey was carried out to reconstruction digital terrain model, DTM, and returned in DWG format. The typical section of the road pavement has been defined starting from predefined schemes, and they modified to adopt the model to design choose. Each section is coded according to codes that allow to assign different geometric properties and create dynamic links with the entities of the project. The elements created so far combined to create the three-dimensional model of the road pavement through the corridor object that manages data, the data linking the various standard sections applied to the different range of sections, to the baselines, horizontal alignment, and to the respective vertical alignment. The corridors can be defined by the setting different level of discretization. In this case, a step of 1 meter was chosen in figure detail that highlights the coding related to the point, connection, and shapes described above is report. The model created in the first phases was important to auto-describe it as a 3D solid. The BIM authoring tools chosen for development of the informative model was Revit by Autodesk. It is strongly oriented towards building modeling, but it allowed to define very effective data structure also in the infrastructure file. The data set have to be able to first contain information related to the type and characteristics of materials. Second, to store the data relating to the survey carried out on the pavement. Finally, keep the history of the analyzed and maintenance activities carried out during the operation phases. Each element present with the Revit is considered a family. The family consists in geometric definition of the element and the parameters used for the information storage. Okay, just a moment. Okay. Since there were a large amount of data relating to the different layers of the pavement, it was necessary to search for a tool that would allow to represent them immediately. The families for present elastic models and basic index have been created consist cylinder, each of them represent characteristics of the superstructure layer. For both families, a set of parameters has been defined. This set report the value of the elastic models and the value of base layer index, middle layer index, and low layer index. Okay, the deflectometer survey data were collected in a spreadsheet in XLS format. The height amount of data and information to be connected to the BIM model would have made the process of manually compiling the schedules within Revit very long. Moreover, this process would have entailed a height probably of making mistakes and considerable effort from a computational point of view. To solve this problem, it was decided to use the Dynamo software. Dynamo is an open source visual programming environment that allows construction users for processing data, generate complex geometric and creating automatization without having to know programming languages. This is the algorithm. The script can be divided into 3 sections. The first, relating to the positioning of the instance on the model, reads the data from the spreadsheet and generate list containing the coordinates of the point of the survey in the space at which value instance of the family that will contain the detected data are positioned. The second section of the script reads the survey data from the spreadsheet and compiles the related parameters present in the families. The procedure for acquiring values is identical to the acquisition of coordinates. Finally, the last part of the script associate a color coding to different families according to the data contained in the files on the different parameters. This is the result of launching the script created in Dynamo. The model created in this work, although extremely simplified, allows to represent information relating to performance characteristics of the pavement. A next step could be to associate the detected data with specific decay models in order to obtain a forecasting tool that, based on results on the monitoring activities, allows to define which areas may be most exposed to critical issues over time, so that to obtain better planning of maintenance intervention, saving in economic terms, and adequate level of safety during operation. Thank you. Thanks for the attention.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. Okay, do we have some questions, comments from the audience? I think we are actually already past beyond our time. Okay, any question? Comments, please. Okay, let me have some questions. You're applying this building information modeling, BIM, for road pavements management. Are there some other something like models which you can use? I mean, do you have some related approach to road pavements management?
Okay. In general, use the traditional methods, but the introduction of new building information modeling that in general used for architecture, engineering, and construction. It's very important for a control of all process, because in general, during the facility management phases is used to reconstruction relevant information that is often dispersed during the pre-construction phases, but use the building information modeling, the technical, add all information into the repository. So monitoring the monitoring is controlled by the central model, and information the information that are not fractional.
Okay. So do you have something like a okay, you have only results for using BIM for road pavements management, but you haven't got any something like comparative results? Comparative evaluation, I mean.
Yes, because the traditional method used only XLS format, Excel sheets, but with the building information modeling use software BIM oriented, and this aspect allows a check a total control of all workflow.
Okay, so more or less it's more systematic compared to this traditional method.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Waiting.
Any short question or comments? Okay, not unless you have questions or comments, then now I would like to end this session, and I would like to thank all the presenters and Angela for sharing her question. Okay, thank you very much again, and hoping you're having a good time to attend these other sessions in the conference. So we still have sessions until tomorrow, right, Angela?
Hi, Bob.
Yes.
Hi, Bob.
What can I do for you, ma'am? How are you?
Fine, fine. I'm sorry.
Very
I
good.
saw you, and I want only to give an hello.
Okay. Same to you. Rebound.
Bye.
Rebound. Okay. Thank you very much again. And so enjoy the rest of the conference and other sessions. Okay. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
And,
Bye. Bye bye.
good night from Japan.
Good night. Bye.
Yeah, it's already 12:36 in the
Good night,
morning.
sir. Good night. It's midnight here.
Yeah, it's already past midnight.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you,
again,
everyone.
thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you too.
Hoping to see you next time.
Hopefully in person.
Yeah. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Aki.
Hello.
See you later.
I'm already prepared for the space syntax session.
Yeah. Only 2 papers, but it's okay. I really hope that the next year will be more paper.
Yeah.
I will send to you the abstract for the space syntax.
Yeah, because I managed.
Yeah.
Send it. You still have got 20 hours or something.
Okay. I will try.
Yeah.
In between
You have to
one
get,
section and another.
You have to
Okay.
get, because I want to see you physical in Bergen next year.
Yeah, I hope so. È chiusa la... Ah, no. Ha passato la... Perché? Okay.
Però loro ci vedono.
So, see you later. 50 minutes of break? No.
Maybe a bit less.
Just a little.
Just a little. We start, was it 17:45 of 18?
Exactly. We are going to a coffee. So.
Yeah, you need it. I'm already prepared.
Okay. See you later. Obrigada.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. All right, I have a question. I have a question. Yes, I was asking if I can introduce my paper, and because I supposed to introduce my paper this morning, but I left, I miss it. So if there is a way I could introduce my paper here.
I think you have to ask Chiara for that one. So.
Excuse me, could you show your face, please?
Can you turn on your camera,
Okay,
please?
okay.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
So we are aware of your situation, but I know that your presentation has been rescheduled in room E at the end of this afternoon session.
Yes, I went to the room E. So she told me that she has she doesn't have a times. It was a Katarina. Her name is Katarina Ferro. She says she doesn't have times because she has another presentation after this. So she told me to talk to Osvaldo. So maybe Osvaldo can introduce me to another conference, another session. So
It's not the session. Is the session of Caterina. So maybe it's better if you contact Caterina because she know exactly when you have to present. Okay.
Okay, but she told me that I should talk again to Osvaldo. So okay, no problem. Thank you. I got the point. So I will talk to Catarina and Osvaldo. Okay.
Because the topic is completely different. So it's for you because in this way later you can discuss with your colleagues. So for that reason you are rescheduled with Caterina Feno. Okay? Okay. Just 1 second. Maybe I can send you when you can speak. Just 1 second.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Aki, for these technical problems.
Don't worry about that. I'm
so,
also fiddling around, so just figure out while I'm waiting.
I'm so upset.
Room E, there were Caterina and also Alessandro. Caterina. So we have to go in room E.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Really completely, I'm sorry, but the topic was completely different. It was was a strong mathematician topic. So
Space syntax is not far from that either. So
Yeah.
But it's really.
But it was about informatics, but pure informatics. So I'm really sorry, Aki.
Don't worry. Yeah. You know, I'm just currently reviewing abstract as they come in for the Space Syntax Symposium. The thing is just to check if they have to do something with space syntax or not. And sometimes you get abstract for like spaceships and astronomics.
Oh yeah. So we will send our abstract maybe tonight.
Yes, do it tonight. Then it's sure inside, because I managed to fiddle around because in the Southern American countries, they have the deadline, there are different time zones. So I stretched it to the 16th of September, but I don't know what time it is. So I recommend them to just submit it tonight.
Yeah. Okay. And did you see Claudia?
Claudia
Yamu? No, in general.
No. Yeah, I met her in Oslo because I was there when she moved over there, and also I've been visiting her several times, and I will probably do the whole the coming months or year, because I'm in Bergen, but I regularly have to visit my mother, who is in a care home now, so it means a lot of frequent traveling to Oslo.
Yeah, if you see her, a big hug also to her, okay?
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, I'm looking for space syntax reviewers, and if you like to be involved in the international.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
If I can help
So
you,
I
I'm
will clarify it also with the international steering committee, but for sure after our special space syntax issue in sustainability, you made your name also very visible. So.
Yeah. Also, Valerio Cutini was here, and we spoke about also the paper, also about you, and we have to organize something internationally, also with Valerio, with you, with Claudia.
Yeah, Valerio could also be a good reviewer. I have to write it down. Thanks for mentioning his name. Then I have to put it on a yellow note. So.
Okay.
Otherwise, I forget.
Okay. So, if you wanted to start.
Yeah, that is. Okay, I think we are already past the time slot. Welcome to the special space syntax session. And we are two presenters, and therefore I want to give the screen. I don't know if you are in the room or in the screen, but anyway, there's a whole group of names. I see Gabriel de Souza Matsumara, Luciana Brasil Rebelo de Santos, Arilendo Flavio de Concediazao, and Nanda Mundi Lankalapali Vilya Kumari. Very interesting names. So, so I will say I will give the screen or the floor to you. Are you there?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you physical on site, or are you somewhere
Yes,
virtual?
I am here in Cagliari with Chiara Garau. My name is Alfonso Annunziata. I am an independent researcher at the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering and Architecture at the University of Cagliari. So, if I may, I will share my presentation.
Yes.
Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, that's fine. Yes.
Can you hear me?
It's good. Yes.
Okay, so the presentation that I am going to discuss is entitled A Literature Review on the Assessment of Vitality and its Theoretical Framework, Emerging Perspectives for Geodesign in the Urban Context. So Our study, the study that I am presenting here is a literature review on the topics of urbanity and of vitality, which are considered as central aspects and central objectives of urban policies, since both urbanity and vitality are related to social cohesion, economic prosperity, and livability. So the key questions of our research are the conceptualization of vitality and urbanity, the identification of spatial and functional components of the built environment which are related to urbanity and vitality, and the development of a common morphological understanding of urbanity and vitality. The objectives are the definition of the theoretical framework for developing a protocol, a methodological framework for the analysis of the degree to which the components of the built environment can affect vitality. And the aim of the development of a protocol is the application of a geodesign perspective to urbanized territories. So our literature review is articulated on several steps, as you can see. First of all, the selection of articles on urbanity and vitality within the disciplinary field of urban studies. Then a selection of a subset of articles which are considered as the most relevant, both in terms of impact and in terms of accessibility of these articles. Then the literature review focuses on a comparative content analysis, which aims to identify the dimensions and the properties of urban form which are related to urbanity and vitality, and lastly, a determination of the impact, of the relevance of the different components of the urban environment in terms of promotion of vitality and urbanity. So first of all, we define vitality and urbanity. Vitality in particular is here defined as the capacity of the built environment to facilitate social practices and economic activities, while urbanity is defined as the essential character of the urban realm, resulting from a specific configuration of socio-political and interactions and economic activities. These aspects, this quality of the built environment are related and are influenced by the specific properties and specific aspects of the urban landscape, in particular by urban form, which can be defined as a resultant, as the product of the structural and functional properties of the built environment, and in particular urban form can be described in terms of, according to the Consinian tradition, can be described in terms of three central components: the built fabric, the system of roads and of public spaces, and the land use pattern. So the last step of our analysis, of our literature review, as I said before, is the measurement of the relevance of specific aspects, of specific properties of the built environment in terms of enhancement of conditions of vitality. We do so by calculating specific metrics, in particular the number of articles that and of studies that utilize a specific criterion, a specific property of the built environment as a determinant of vitality, and the number of frequent positive correlation found by existing studies between vitality and specific aspects of the built environment. So first of all, we have identified a subset of relevant articles, and within this set of articles, we have identified these properties of the built environment as significant aspects as significant factors conducive to vitality and to urbanity. In particular, the analysis of the number of citation of the number of studies that utilize this or that identify these aspects as determinants of vitality, and the number of positive correlation between these aspects and levels of vitality show that the diversity of uses and the density of points of interest emerge as central and significant aspects of the built environment that can promote urbanity and vitality. Other significant factors are the related to the configuration of the mass transit system, and in particular the proximity to the nodes of the mass transit system. Also, the building densities formalized and operationalized in terms of floor area ratio is an important factor, an important variable identified by several studies as a determinant of vitality, while also the configurational aspects emerge as central components, even if the majority of the studies analyzed tend to focus on local configurational properties and mainly on connectivity, while the appreciation of the impact of global configurational properties, and in particular centrality, is still marginal within the existing literature, or at least within the selected body of articles. In conclusion, this literature review was aimed to build a theoretical foundation for the development of analytical protocol for the analysis of the components of the built environment and of their impact on conditions of vitality and of urbanity. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions or comments? I have also like one question, because it's a very broad study what you did, and I think it's like, because what you're looking for is urban vitality, you know, and that tends to be also be a very vague concept. Of course, we all have ideas of that, and I think also like one important thing is just to define what is urban vitality, and what consisted. I like also sometimes what Jen Jacobs said. What do you think about the cities? People in the street, for example. The presence of people, that you have shops there, you know, this kind of thing. And then I think that when you add that, then it becomes like more how to say, specific about the study. But I really like that you're doing this comparison. Are there any more comments from the audience? We still got some time.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Thank you for your suggestion. Yes, of course, one of the main consideration of this literature review was related to the terminological ambiguity related to the concepts of vitality and vibrancy. And in fact, one of the issues and one of the key questions was the attempt to find and operationalize these concepts. And yes, mainly we can relate the concept of vitality to the level of activity, of pedestrian activity across the public space, and in particular the capacity of the public space to stage different forms of utilizing the public space, different practices, different utilitarian, social, and recreational activities, as well as economic activities and diversity of secondary uses, to quote Jane Jacobs, if my translation from Italian to English is correct, of course. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your answer, and also for your presentation. It's I see you. Do you have some comments, Chiara? Oh, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Can I speak? Okay.
Yeah, now I hear you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your considerations, also because your point of view is really important for us. And this is a beginning, an ongoing study. So maybe when we go on, maybe I will ask some apps or some contribution to go on. So it's just the first step for doing a more important work. So just we are starting to combine geodesign with space syntax. Thank you so much again.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I think it's like I'm the next in the program. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Oh, I see if I can fiddle it around how to share my presentation, because it's let me see. I open it. That's the first thing, and then I had to probably share my screen.
Exactly. Yes.
So. And the question is that I see a button called "Share Your Screen."
Yes. If you.
Yeah. Then I just need to see if it. Oh, I take some time.
The third icon is for sharing the screen.
Yeah, I see it.
In the
Then I share my screen.
Lower part of your screen. Yes, you can find the.
Allow to share. I click allow.
Now we can see your screen.
No, this is yours. Oh, okay.
You see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. I will. If I click on start the presentation, I do like this.
Yes,
we can see my screen, like full screen.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay, that's good. Thanks a lot. Okay. My name is Achilles van Es. I'm situated at two different universities, and I'm going to talk about a new method I developed, is how to measure the degree of permeability from the main router network with the angular step depth analysis. And we know that a city consists, with a very low number of very long streets and a high number of very short streets. And what you often see that the long streets, they tend to end at another long street with a very shallow angle. It has a sort of continuation, whereas the local streets, which is a high number of, they always end with a sort of 90 degree to another street. And why the reason why we have very few long streets, they are connecting the suburbs to the city center. It's a way of traveling around. And also the purpose of this this very long street, they tend to be the main route of the city, and they function also sort of spatial armature of the built environment. And throughout the years, it's been quite challenging on how to identify them. And that's the first questions. And there are sort of a very short history. It's like it started with the integration gradient from Stephen Reed's paper from 1997. And then he started to do sort of manual hand draw, and they are not free from subjective matters. But I had a feeling that there's something with them, and then I started to experiment with various angular analysis with the topological radius. And then later we we used the angular choice analysis with high metrical radius. So that was the first we did. And here's an example of the integration gradient of Amsterdam. And that was the analysis that shows, they had the strongest correlation with the location pattern of shops, but also pedestrian flow data. And then somehow they started to do it manually. Here is just drawn of Amsterdam. And then I took all the routes that have one direction change from it and used the dark gray and the remaining in light blue gray. And then I realized like the vitality of an urban area, so like if it functions very well, it's very depending on whether these main routes goes through the neighborhood or between the neighborhood. So it had something hold, but the identification criteria, I was not very happy about it. And here is a hand-drawn net, that I call it the middle scale network. And that's for the whole Dutch city of Randstad. it's not the highway network, and it's neither the local street network. But I was not happy with this analysis. It's very subjective. And then in 2005, they introduced a better analysis tool, a sort of local angular analysis with 3 times direction change. You know, like it was an extension of local integration in space syntax. And then you see a sort of contour of some sort of main routes. This is the Dutch town Alkmaar. And today we have, of course, the angular choice, which is much more precise. And here we also have another city called Alkmaar. That's the old angular analysis. And this is how it looks today with choice. And what we did a project on space and crime in 2005, 2006. And then we did everything what we could find to sort of identify the main routes and then draw them as a yellow. And then we want to measure like how are they connected with the neighborhood. And then we do just like what you call an n steps analysis. So you count the number of direction change you take from the main route and go into the neighborhood. And when we correlate it with space and crime data like burglary and theft from cars, then we realize the further you go away, the more are the homes intrude from the front door, the higher burglary risk. That is what we find. So we realize like every space syntax parameter we correlated with it, it was related to the number of direction change from the main routes. So it had something hold. And then I couldn't leave this in peace that, okay, how to identify them? We need to fix that first before we start to look at the permeability issue. So in 2009, I did some experiments with the city of Leiden. It has a lot of curved streets. So every new measurement in space syntax that was developed from 2005 to 2009 was like tested on Leiden. So it was really a good case to apply it on. And somehow I managed to add, you know, the 2 formulas of angular analysis with topology like 3 and 8 on top on each other. So I could identify with that one. But then somehow the angular choice came into being, much more better methods in 2009. And also sort of new, more refined measurements. And then also... And then the choice, I was like, please, choice, now we got it, you know, with the angular choice analysis, with the metrical radius, these were the best one. Now the next step is how to measure the degree of permeability to the neighborhood. And of course you have the actual step depth, which is like you count up the number of direction change from the main route, no matter how the angle is. But if you look at the angular weighting, then you get much more, you know, the main route identified, but also like really streets that are very poorly, it require, you know, much more direction change from the main routes. So you start to weight, how to say, the number of direction change, you put the angular weighting into it. And of course, the angular weighting, it was like developed throughout the years. How do you calculate it in terms of to add it into the integration? So here you see like the relationship between segment A, what you see down here. When you travel from A to B, you're almost traveling straight forward. So you're much more closer connected to each other. But if you travel from A to D, it's a much sharp angle of change, so then you get a much further distance from it. So this is sort of changing that, how to say, the graph theory a little bit. So here you see like more 2 examples is like if you with difference between angular weighting and the classical topological weighting from segment A. So that's the one thing. And also you're operating with different radius, to say so, because you have topological radius, is pure direction change. And then you have metrical radius, is just pure distance. And then you have a sort of geometrical radius, is the number of angle weighting, sort of. How far do you reach when you in total change direction 180 degrees from that red segment who is like marked in black? Because if you travel straight ahead, it's like 0. So, And if you hear from this segment go here, it's a very sharp angle in comparison with that angle. So this is a way of visualizing. But the interesting is with the angular choice analysis with the high metrical radius, it highlights the main routes. Here you see a traditional town Hilversum in the Netherlands. If you have a high radius, you get the main routes. And the low radius, you get like the main routes for pedestrians. And they tend to be like located very close where you have a high density of main routes running through the center. Whereas in the new town, Lelystad, which is only 50 years old, you see the main routes, there you have the car-dominated routes. And when you look at the local scale, they are totally different areas. And this town is have a reputation to be a sort of sleeping town, like a quite, how to say, lack of street life, and also compete to win the first prize to be the most ugliest city in the Netherlands. And what you see there, if you compare with several other towns, you see that when you look in traditional urban areas, the main route tend to run right through the various local centers, where in post-war urban areas, they are running between the centers. So you see a tendency of that one. So the next step is just like, if you take this main route network and you check it, how is it connected to its vicinity? So the thing is like, it's very simple. You use the angular choice analysis, and there the segment length is included into the calculation. And then of course you add the metrical radius. So when you have a high metrical radius, and that identify the main routes that are running through or between urban areas. And when you manage to select these main routes, you identify them, then you take an angular step depth from them. So here's like how to do it in depth map, but I will show you with the illustration. So first you conduct the angular choice analysis, as I told you. Then you open up the scatter plot, and then you make sure on the X and the Y axis here you have choice. And then you mark all the lines that are like from light blue and up. And then they are marked like this. Here you see the main routes that are marked. Then you have in depth map a called step depth button. And then you click on that one, and then you get an image like this. And then you go to the color range. Normally it tend to be there. You take the blue a little bit more there, the red there is just for visualizing, and then you click apply. When you click on apply, you get this analysis. So it looks very nicely, but behind every line is also a number. But first I want to visualize how it looks like from various cities in the world, and what does it mean. So if you take a city like Auckland in New Zealand, you see like in the historical areas, you see that the various neighborhoods are very well connected to the main route. And as soon as you go into the suburbs and expansion, you see that they're very poorly connected. If you look in Amsterdam, which is known to be a quite vibrant city, you see the historical city center. It's really well connected, but as soon as you move into the post-war areas, you see a very poor connection between the main route network and the neighborhood. And this neighborhood has a reputation that you easily get lost when you are a stranger on visit. And here I want to show also with various cultures. If you go to Amman, is the capital city of Jordan, and you see like they tend to have a far more segregated city. So the neighborhoods and the main routes are very separate from each other. But where you see the main route concentrate around here, this is the center of Amman. If you look at a city like Banda Aceh, you see that the colonial areas, which is influenced by European planning, particularly from the Dutch colonists, they are highlighted in the center, like here. But if you soon move to the lower left side, then you see like it's getting more fragmented and segregated. And if you look at Bangkok, there you see also like how the city center and also more poorer neighborhoods, how they are very poorly connected in comparison with the city center. And then how does it look like with cities with strict orthogonal grid? You see that normally in the classical space syntax analysis, then all the grid tend to be very red, but somehow you see also a differentiation of it. So you see in the Cerda grid, everything is well connected, but as soon as you move out to the surrounding hills, it's getting poorer connected. And here is the city of Bergen in Norway, and it's surrounded by 7 hills. And then you see like the historical town center pops up, and then you see the hills popping up. Then it's far more, you have to change, far more doing sharp angles in order to get up on the hills. And here is like a typical European city of Berlin, which is quite well connected. This is West Berlin, East Berlin, and then you have the suburbs that is poorer connected. And if you look at as an interesting city like Buenos Aires, it has a strict orthogonal grid, but still it has suffering from really like sort of some very segregated area that are social segregated, and it seems that also they're spatial segregated. Here we have one of the Dutch colonies in the Caribbean called Curacao from Willemstad. And you see like the historical center, it's really well connected. But if you look, it's very car-based city. It's on an island in the Caribbean. And if you look at the downtown Manhattan in New York, it has a very strict orthogonal grid, and it only had 2 direction change. It looks like very like divided. You have either red lines or blue lines. And here you see the whole Manhattan. But if you see the numbers behind, which I will show you later, it has a very shallow structure. And here, of course, we have some other cities like Rome and Shenzhen in China, and also Venice. And Venice is very interesting because it's a pedestrian area. And then you see like most people move along on these routes, you know, and here around here, and here is Piazza San Marco. And here you see they're all the way to the Biennale. And you see where the touristic areas, but more the silent areas are not so well connected to the main routes. And the last city I will show is Valparaiso, which is in Chile. And there you have really like the planned grid. But if you look at all the informal settlements, they're really extremely poorly connected to the main route network. So here is a sort of table. What is hidden behind all these colors, and what does the number say? And here you see like the average step depth from the main routes and from to the rest of the city. So what I did, I look at the whole city, and then I marked the city center, and then I took a sort of modern area or a new center and compare it with that. And if you look at the whole city, you see that Barcelona spots out, like it's really, you know, the average number of direction change for main route is really low. And also Buenos Aires, and also Manhattan, as I showed you earlier, and also Vienna. But if you look and mark the city center, you see that the city of Annaba in Algeria, and Barcelona center, of course, and Kyoto, which has really also like a strict orthogonal grid. And also the center of Vienna, that really pops out to be really like that the main route, the permeability to the vicinity, it's really well connected. And if you look at the opposite on the range, you see like the city center, which really poor is Cairo, and Iowa City in the United States, and Kumasi in Africa, and also Valparaiso in Chile. They're really a really poorly connected city center. But if you look at the modern and the new areas, you see Manhattan score very low, but Valparaiso and Venice, they're really poorly connected. So all the blue numbers shows really those who are poorly connected, and the red numbers who are highly connected. But most of them are like, they have the value around 2. So what it shows very clearly is like that the cities with a strict orthogonal street pattern have a very high level of permeability between the foreground network, which is the main route, and the background network, which is like the dwelling streets. And often informal settlements, modern housing areas with gated community contribute to poor levels of main route permeability. And also you see it has also to do with cultures. So if you look at Arab cities that have a much lower degree of permeability between the foreground and the background network. And on the last slide, I will say, like, so what? What is the usefulness of this method? And it made at least a possibility to quantify the relationship between the foreground and the background network of cities. And the next step is to apply and test this method with various social economic data. We tried in a couple of cities in the Netherlands with crime data, and we turned out also like the longer or the lower values between, or how to say, the more number of direction change from the main router network into the neighborhood, the higher crime burglary risk, what we found. And also, if you have more systematic empirical testing that contribute to creating further operational spatial analysis tools for evaluating planning and urban design proposals, or to make a spatial diagnosis of poorly functional neighborhoods, and also for option testing in urban renewal projects. So that was my presentation. Thank you. So I click exit, see what happened now. Oops. And then I had to stop share screen. That is.
Yes.
How do I do that?
Presentation.
Can I just, okay.
Oops.
Aki, thank you so much. So much stuff. Congratulations for your presentation. I have so many questions. And also because it's really incredible to see how many cities you succeed to analyze and to show in this presentation. So just a little consideration or
hello, I'm here again. Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, now I'm here back. I just fell out. I'm back again.
Okay. And do you find some similarities between all cities that you find, or also because you analyze different cities, not only European cities, but around the world?
Yeah, what I really find is, first of all, culture matters play a role. That was, but also, and I also tested out on Beijing, for example, Chinese cities, they have a sort of grid system, but somehow the foreground network tend to be very strong, but very poorly connected to the background network, because the Hutong areas tend to be turned away from the main routers. So it doesn't look so well connected like strict orthogonal grid cities like New York and Manhattan in New York and Barcelona, for example.
Thank you
and
so
also
much.
another thing I was very surprised of is about Vienna, because it's a very vibrant city and it doesn't look strict orthogonal. But what I really realized is that the main router network, it's so well connected to the direct vicinity. So it means like if you change direction one time from the main router and then again another, then you're back on the main router network again. That was my discovery in this very funny experiment.
Wonderful, really congratulations. I want to underline that all the proceedings are published. So if you try to log in the ICCSA platform, you also find your paper already published. And I want also to invite you in the next year. I don't know if you prefer on presence or online to
I will
introduce your book.
Physical conference.
Yeah. No, but to present your book, because I know that
if you like, I can present it now if you like.
To introduce your book to my students, I hope to all Cagliari communities at the University of Cagliari. So this is an invite to you. Okay.
Do you want me to present quickly the book?
No, I prefer you present during my course. So
okay.
we will try to find a day that 1 hour, not only 5 minutes, but I wanted to give more time to introduce and your book also with Claudia.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And I hope that if you can select the time, I can come down to Sardinia to see your beautiful place, because this week I was triple booked.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you again.
I think that, are we finished now? Or I hope that if, according to my list, we are ready. I think so. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm asking if the audience have any questions. No? Okay.
There are no other presentations, so
yeah.
So we
it is
are
up to
finished
you.
now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much again, Aki. And we will meet also for for Space Syntax Symposium.
Yeah, I really hope, because Norway was the most closed country during the pandemic after North Korea. So, so I hope that we all can meet physically in Bergen, but now they're loosening up the restriction because almost 90% of the population is vaccinated. So
yeah, but also to organize ICCSA 2021 was really difficult because every month there was new rules to follow, new laws, and now we are happy because we can see people in the third dimension. So
yeah. I hope this corona shit will fade away, because it's been holding the whole world on a grip now for 1.5 years. And according to everything what I read about pandemic, I hope it just fades away like other pandemics, like after 1.5 years. So I hope it fades away.
Okay, so see you really soon, Aki.
Yeah, see you soon. We keep in touch. And thank you for a wonderful session. And I wish you all a lovely evening. So I just step out now. I hope I doesn't.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Take care. Hey, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.